With Siege Minion in the top lane will help take this tower out. Now keep your eyes on Caps. He's got Flash, Cleanse, Ultimate available. He hasn't got a lot of runway to charge up that Q, not to get the stun. Not going to need it just yet. It's just the tower. 4 towers to 1. Fnatic will be happy with that one. They will back away. There's a Baron spawning in a minute and a half. The Mountain Drake's coming up shortly after that. And Fnatic sitting very comfortable as we move into the mid game.
Yeah, so hopefully things will slow down for both teams a little bit. They can reset themselves. People can go back, spend some of their... gold, pick up a bit of vision, and we can use this time to talk about what this game means for the standings. Because you've got to remember, we're now at the halfway point. This is the rematch. And RNG took the first win over Fnatic last time, but if Fnatic get a win here, they elevate themselves to 4 and 2 in the standings. They put themselves above Kingzone temporarily, and they, considering coming into the tournament, their day one performance, you would not expect that as we now see a roam by.
Oh, we do indeed. Just a bit overextended here. 4 members of Fnatic, correction, 5 members of Fnatic nearby. Caps will be the one that's gifted the kill. There's a minute before Dragon, 30 seconds spawn time plus Team P. So Letney could get involved if Fnatic stuck around, but Baron is what's being sort of threatened, at least the vision for now. RNG pulling some of their resources up to the north of map.
Now, I don't feel you needed to send all 5 members from Fnatic. They will end up losing a wave to mid lane numbers. Safety in numbers, that is very true. And they kind of gain vision control around the bot side of the river. But the risk that you have is that RNG could have perhaps traded that for a mid to tier 1, and they did look for it, but they decided not to overextend. Xiaohu, even though he has been hard camped, is still sitting at level 13. He has that level advantage over Caps. He's sitting quite... nicely in terms of farm as well, and he's working towards his second major item already with the tier fully stacked, even though this is a very, very late Rod of Ages.
Yeah, with Caps, I'm really looking already at the Rylai's completed, the Roa already almost fully stacked. Rylai's just makes it that much harder to ever play a side lane, because not only do you have the phase rush, you have the slowdown from that Rylai's, and if you're ever in an extended lane, as these lanes get longer and longer, as the turrets are dropping, it gets so terrifying to try to move out and get that farm. And that's why Fnatic is now going to be playing for vision around and trying to make this big, dark, scary area where they can then find engagement with these slows, with this Aurelian Soul, and try to punish RNG.
And if Fnatic can play the map as well as they did for that top inner turret, Fnatic managed to get that kill, they punished Letney, it's extended that Goldie to 4,000 in a very short space of time, opened up the Dragon as well, so this will be a Mountain Drake. Everything is in favor of Fnatic for now, and as long as they play the set up well, they'll get themselves in position for Baron, but they don't want to contest, or don't want to get themselves in a potential team fight area or 50-50 Baron against the likes of a Cho'Gath or the Rakan, which could be terrifying in that space.
And for RNG, their team fight becomes about combos, right? It becomes about the engage largely from Ming. So much of the emphasis is going to have to be on this guy, because really, Cho'Gath is not the one to engage. No one else really has much form besides perhaps a flash root from Xiaohu. It has to be about Ming. It has to be about him finding these key members like Reckless, like Caps, and then the follow-up coming through to eliminate one of those carries immediately at the start of the fight. Especially if Reckless goes down to start a fight for Fnatic, the team fight damage can be pretty lacking from the rest of the members.
Yeah, I think you highlighted a really good point there, Azale, because execution seems to be the big thing for RNG, because when you just look at the scaling, like Uzi versus Reckless, Xayah versus Tristana, you kind of automatically give that over towards Fnatic's side, and Aurelian Soul, while difficult to play in fight, so obnoxious, especially for the short range on Xiaohu, but we know RNG are a good team fighting team. Even if they don't rely on it to win games, you have the Cho'Gath, you still have that Baron win condition. If you're able to set up properly around it, you could potentially rush it down. And RNG, even though they're at a deficit, there are still a couple options that they have left. They just have to be proactive now, otherwise the scaling gap is going to get a little too big.
Over the last 5 games of the group stage, Fnatic have had superior Baron control. Fnatic have secured 5 and conceded 3. On the inverse, RNG secured only 2 and conceded 5. So around the pit, around the objective, Of course, a winning record versus a losing record will have a direct impact on those stats as well. It is something that'll play into Fnatic's favor, and you can see they use that unstoppable onslaught from Whippo just to sort of threaten Uzi, get the Feather Storm out, extend that gold lead even further, and Fnatic are playing this one safe. Push the waves, get the vision, then peel back to Baron, but you can see a number of RNG wards in the pit still.
Yeah, I'm just looking at how the map is currently set up, and for Fnatic, a lot of their vision is centered around the enemy jungle, whereas for RNG, a lot of it is around the Baron area. And often you'll see that teams have a couple of options when looking to play around the Baron. Number one is you kind of clear out the pit and then you steadily increase your vision further, but you can actually skip a step. And if you maintain control over the enemy jungle for an extended period of time, you know that the enemy vision is guaranteed to run out. But they haven't been able to maintain control, therefore Fnatic have to reset, they'll have to regain control over the river, and this back and forth should be happening for quite a while now, probably until Reckless completes his rapid fire.
And it's looking like Fnatic has their eyes set on this last outer turret in the bottom lane. They're trying to knock that down. Caps moving down. Could just assist with taking it out, and the intermediate has been popped.
Let's see what's happening here. Feast is available for Let Me if he feels the need to use it. As it stands, Fnatic in a good position. Obviously, NALC has picked up a win against RNG in China earlier today. If Fnatic close this out, it's a good day. EU and NA against China. And it just keeps this group stage even more interesting, but they still need to get past these final hurdles, and the game has slowed down significantly from the laning phase.
And it's very scary for RNG.
Significantly from the laning phase.
And it's very scary for RNG. When you're sitting at 2 wins, when you are behind in this game, if they fall to 2 and 4, they're 1 game ahead of TL, 1 game ahead of EVOS.
All right, let's take a look at this. The Realm Warp comes in, but it manages to equate to nothing. Teleport from Whippo. I can't quite see where... The Celestial Expansion is tearing through RNG as Royal Never Give Up are fading backwards. Damage onto Hillisang roots him down. The Rune Prison into the Overload secures the kill, but Caps is forced to run for his life. Whippo's got no flash available. He'll get turned into zombie mode, and Fnatic have lost the fight. MLXG secures a double kill.
And this is the team fight execution we talked about for RNG. They forced the fight in the middle lane. They're able to outplay Fnatic. They're now the ones on the Baron, but Broxa has flash.
They still have Feast available. Lemmy didn't even use it, so they have that Smite Feast combo. It's going to be hard here for Broxa.
Is Broxa going to try? No, he flashes in way too late. You're not going to be able to escape there. Caps tries to get some damage down with the W. Late to the party, RNG get Baron.
And just like that, RNG is right back in the game. They're only down 2,000 gold. There's a low top lane turret. They could close that completely, and here is the fight once more. Fnatic pretty spread out.
Yeah, you've got to keep your eyes on Uzi and his positioning because he's sitting on the back line. Nobody is focusing him down right now. Ming with another fantastic engage, and then Uzi is free to just constantly hit onto the front line. A fantastic feather call just rips through Hillisang, and with one of the major frontliners down, and Fnatic Cap zoned out of the fight, Reckless just cannot output the same amount of damage that Uzi can.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, RNG just played that fight so beautifully well. There wasn't the follow-up damage-wise for Ming in that fight, but he bought so much time for his carries. They spread out, they kite back, they focus the front line of Fnatic, and once Whippo and Hillisang are down, there's not much left.
Uzi sends his regards. You saw the damage graph a moment ago. 100% kill participation at 117. The same is true for Ming at 3, 2, and 5. And Fnatic, they still got one of those minion dematerializers sitting with Hillisang. But against Baron and potentially a banner-empowered minion, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Whippo looks for the engage onto Uzi. Bit off way more than he can chew, and Xiao who takes him down. Now against Baron, all of a sudden Fnatic have to defend 4 versus 5. Half the studio is alight as RNG are pushing down the mid lane.
You just can't try to catch Uzi out like that. This man had his ultimate. He still had the flash available, and now RNG are looking to secure their first inhibitor.
Yeah, Fnatic are making the call to just sacrifice it. You can see Caps is up in the top side of the map, and RNG will back off, but that is now the gold lead for RNG. Such a momentous swing off that one fight, off the kills there, the turrets, the Baron. They are taking so much from a minor mistake from Fnatic.
Unbelievable swing. Let's take another look at this. Bwipo fancying his chances.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see how that was going to work. Caps is not even there. They don't really have vision on the rest of RNG. Uzi has his ultimate available. Maybe just thinking he had to make a play, but I don't think desperation time had really arrived.
And the thing is, for RNG, their team fighting is scary, but Fnatic still have scaling on their side. It's simply a matter of just how well Ming plays these fights. Azael, you were talking about it earlier on, and if he finds that good ult knockup, it can buy time, it can allow you to find the pick that will win you the fight. And Fnatic just have to respect it. They have to spread out. They have to make Ming's life harder when trying to group up and have these 5 versus 5.
Earlier today, gentlemen, Royal Never Give Up lost a game to Team Liquid because of that Baron steal from X-Smithy. They were behind a lot of the game as well, so kudos to X-Smithy steal. There we go. Fnatic won a game that turned out to be extremely dramatic, chaotic, back and forth, that involved several inhibitors being down and some split pushing. So maybe that's warmed them up from having an inhibitor down in the mid lane, because they're going to have to lean on that experience if they want to claw back control. All of a sudden,
right where they want them.
Exactly. Fnatic's defending. Fnatic's playing on the back foot. And it's up to RNG now to press their advantage and press this lead further.
And credit to Xiaohu. This man, even though he was hard camped in the early game, he is still hugely relevant to this RNG lineup. 1-3-3 with 300 CS, and he's completed his 3rd major item, level 16 as well. Even though he was shut down, you still cannot afford to count this man out.
No, you cannot. Tower number 6 will fall in favor of the Chinese representatives. They've got a 3,000 gold lead as we get closer to 30 minutes on the clock. Baron has worn off, but that was a pretty sizable Baron power play, if I say so myself. At least 3 towers, an inhibitor, a couple of kills to boot.
It really was, and one of the things that I think is really working in RNG's favor right now is the fact that there's very little armor that has actually been purchased up by the front line of Fnatic, and you have the Graves as well as this Xayah. It's essentially only MR really that has been bought. Yes, there is a Zeke's for a little bit of armor. Yes, there is a Banner for a little bit of armor, but you're sitting on an Abyssal Mask as well as the Warmogs on the Scion. It's not a lot to really kind of keep you safe here.
Well, let's see what Bwipo decides to do later. It was his re-engage, obviously a call from the team. That may have cost that inhibitor under Baron, sort of swinging gold from 6k gold down to 2k gold up. Now teleports available for Let Me and Xiaohu. And as the buff has expired and the game has now somewhat reset as far as the map is concerned, it's at least a Cloud Drake before Elder, and Baron will be up in a few minutes' time. So we're in that passage of play where each team will prioritize an objective and then start to set up some vision to play around it.
So I'm looking right now at how Fnatic will try to defend this last tier 2 tower, because RNG, they had a huge Baron power play. They are grouped up as a 5-man. Caps is forced to defend mid, and I feel like they just have to concede.
All right, where is the Star Surge? Where is the Comet of Legend? That combo started in base. Fly, chase that Q down. There's a great engage tool if Caps wants to combo with Bwipo, but they don't feel the chances just yet, Azael.
Yeah, Reckless actually picking up a double BF sword there, which is pretty atypical, perhaps wanting to try to prioritize getting as much power right now, but that could eventually be the Bloodthirster plus the GA, but definitely going to delay the actual completion of one of those items. And
no QSS either.
Yeah, no QSS is pretty scary with the amount of CC available.
If one more team fight determines this game and there's 3 stopwatches on the side of RNG, that is a lot of frustration to deal with and to get through. If you don't get those resets on the Trist, if the Celestial expansion doesn't get the bodies down because of the Hourglass, that could be scary for Fnatic.
Yeah, and the fact that it's still, as I said, there's really no armor on the team. You have Uzi at 100% crit rate on this Xayah.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Caps and Brox are way out of position. Ming with the quickness shuts him down. RNG go fishing and they find Fnatic's best member, but what can Fnatic do with the time?
Caps and Broxer were trying to set up a flank to get behind RNG as they were setting up vision around the Baron. They get spotted out as MLXG is just clearing through his blue side, and they're able to find the pick. Unfortunately for RNG, they don't really turn it into anything as the Baron was not alive yet.
Yeah, but the question is, can they just go straight to that Baron and rush it down? Because it's going to be spawning before Caps is back up. He can fly out there pretty quickly, but RNG have a small window. We'll see if they're willing to try to risk it.
Hourglass completed for Xiaohu. His Rod of Ages just hit max stack, so even though it was a late start, it is fully powered up. 4 items on that rise. MLXG comes into the next fight with his Phantom Dancer as well. So a lot of power on the RNG squad. Baron is up. It is being started, and Caps is only spawning in a moment.
It's too late. Fnatic is not moving quickly enough, and the amount of damage on this team means RNG get a clean Baron.
RNG get as many Barons in this game as they did in the 5 previous games. Can Fnatic defend? Because as it stands, they are starting to fall apart at the hinges.
And so far this MSI, we have had teams beating each other left, right, and center. Only yesterday it was Fnatic that were able to take down Kingzone. But then this morning, Liquid took down RNG. And with a win here for RNG, they could equalize the score. They would hold the head-to-head record over Fnatic as well. And they would make this group stage ever more tense.
All right, let's take a look here. Bwipo just stepped into vision, if I read that correctly. Let me and Ming.
It's Operation Red Buff. Rex says, they took mine. It's not fair. We need to get it back.
And he did indeed. Manages to steal that one with a double BF sword build. Reckless currently sitting on 1,700 gold. He needs to pick up a little bit more before he can upgrade one of those.
He could buy his GA now, but I think he really wants the Bloodthirster, which is going to give him a lot of power, and they're looking for Let Me.
All right, got themselves a stun. It's still 3,500 HP to burn through. That Feral Scream did so much work on the silence. Enough time for RNG to arrive. There's a flash. There's a quickness available. Ming, keep your eyes on him. He needs to be the engaged tool, and that's why Hillisak gets him with the Winter's Bite. Now MLXG away on the side. GA picked up for him. He's going to get an end-of-the-line damage. The fight is now split. Realm Warp will deliver Xiaohu to the back line. Caps forced to flash defensively, and Fnatic escape with their lives.
Yeah, Caps should not have split off from the team like that, though. Perhaps overestimating his strength in that 1v1 against MLXG, but MLXG chunks him down exceptionally low, and the Realm Warp comes in from Xiaohu, forcing out the flash.
And the thing is, he did separate the rest of RNG from Fnatic, though, which perhaps he was trying to be that sacrificial lamb to keep his team alive. And Ming, using his flash and ulti, was not able to find the collapse, which means that engage tool will not be available for the next fight. RNG do have good vision control. If they could extend it a little bit further, then a TP flank from Let Me could arguably be one of their next best engage options.
Oh man, let's keep an eye on the vision, because remember the first time these two teams played, it was the 3,000 IQ living artillery from Uzi that spotted Fnatic. One final team fight after an epic back and forth. That is what determined that game. It may be the same here today.
And Reckless, in classic Reckless fashion, is going for the highest DPS possible build. Forget the survivability. He grabs an Essence Reaver, which is really going to up the time that he has that rapid fire available on his Q. The amount of DPS he will put out is tremendous, as he is now at 100% crit as well.
Oh, okay, the inhibitor is alive in the mid lane, but will it be alive for long? 50 seconds on Baron buff as RNG are inside Fnatic's base. The empowered cannon chipping away at the inhibitor until Uzi comes in and finishes it off. Fnatic don't fancy their chances. We'll let that one go down for the second time this game. Continue to play defensively.
It's just so scary for Fnatic to engage on this RNG lineup when they have so many levels over their counterparts. 18 for Xiaohu, 17 for Uzi. Let Me doesn't look like he even takes damage. RNG just looking so strong as a 5-man unit.
And I think this is where Fnatic may make their stand. Giving up one exposed inhibitor, not that big of a deal, but dropping a second and the turret could mean a lot.
All right, the Star Surge gets a stun onto the top laner, and while the asteroids are doing some damage for Caps, I simply don't think it's enough. Voice of Light is still available if he needs that final get out of my face button. Reckless has flash available to him, and luckily the minion wave is deleted. Baron has timed out, but RNG are not stopping.
Most importantly, though, Ming has his ulti. Keep your eyes on the support of RNG. As he might look for an engage.
No flash available for him. Let Me moving all the way forward. Look at Ming threatening the engage, threatening the use of that quickness. He throws out a couple more spells before he backs away. They get the tower. RNG do not stick around any longer, and they back away to safety.
Yeah, very patient play here from RNG. Going to go back to base, spend up that gold. They are reaching full build for basically all of their members pretty soon.
6,000 gold up, Azael. You mentioned that. QSS sitting with Uzi as well. A lot of damage, a lot of tools available to the RNG squad, and with supers in the mid lane, with an exposed bottom inhibitor, for RNG, they just need one clean fight around either the Elder or the Baron. And if Fnatic have any missteps, they will go down 0-2 in the head-to-head. RNG. Despite the fact they'll be tied in scorelines at 3-3, RNG being 2-0 up gives them huge advantages as we near the last few days of groups.
And it was such a good start for Fnatic. Caps, he was 5-0-4 very early on into the game. Yet RNG, they needed to find a clutch fight against Fnatic. They were able to force Fnatic into that situation. Ming executed the fight perfectly, and they transitioned that into a Baron, and then all of a sudden, they just flipped the gold so heavily back into their favor. And this is just one of the core strengths that RNG have been able to demonstrate throughout their LPL run.
It really is, and the team fights are going to be so interesting because so much of it comes down to, can they either zone Reckless out of the fight and keep him away from your squishy members, or will Reckless get to Free Fire? Because if he gets to Free Fire a couple shots on any of these squishies, they will die. At the same time, with Graves, Rise, and Desire Free Firing on any of the front line of Fnatic, they will go down in a hurry if that damage is not coming out from Reckless.
We've seen that happen a number of times already. Uzi's at full build, just needs to sell those boots if he wants to get even more damage, but 6 items at 38 minutes, 450 CS at the 38-minute mark is mind-boggling. I think a number of CS records have been shattered this group stage already. But gentlemen, we are entering the final minutes before Baron comes up. 1 minute. Look at the vision from RNG. They've extended it. They've positioned themselves beautifully to play around and challenge this next objective.
Yes, that's the easiest setup that RNG have. They keep mid and top pushed in. Bot lane, they were not able to take the inhibitor down. They just set up a push earlier, and Let Me will happily go back down to that lane, keep the pressure up, and they're just trying to keep Fnatic in their base as much as possible. Don't let them get any of that vision back in their half of the map.
It is a good thing for Fnatic, though, that the only inhibitor down is the mid lane, because that is the easiest one to play around while still actually defending that Baron. So very critical that they were able to defend that bottom lane inhibitor, as this next Baron certainly could decide the game, and that's up in 20.
And the thing is, what complicates the matter is that while the Baron is obviously where RNG are prioritizing now, about 40 seconds after Baron spawns, Elder Drake spawns. And Fnatic have got themselves 2 Elemental Drakes as well, so you don't really want to give that over. Fnatic have been able to shove the mid lane far enough that they're feeling bold. They're emblazoned. They're stepping forward. But at what cost? RNG are surrounding. Reckless gets away with the rocket jump, and Hylissang is already dead. The Realm Warp will deliver Let Me into the middle of Fnatic, and they are split up. Caps is running for his life. Let Me's going low, but look at MLXG. He's jumping in the back line. As it stands, Reckless survives for now. No real health lifesteal to speak of. RNG get the kill and they get away.
And they're going to Baron. Let Me again, saving his feast for that eventual Baron. They're trying to secure it. That is their major goal, and they will get this Baron. Fnatic is not anywhere close enough to do anything about it.
Can Fnatic even challenge the Elder? It's 20 seconds before Hilly comes up. RNG could have both buffs to set themselves up for the final push.
And this is all about Ming. This guy has had a phenomenal Rakan game. He did a beautiful job in the laning phase of mitigating as much as he can from the early pressure of Fnatic, but in these team fights, he has been standing out so much. If he is not able to land these multi-man knockups, these fights become so much harder for RNG to play, yet he's finding them multiple times.
Hylissang's going to be arriving a little late to this party. Keep your eyes on the minimap as he's running in. So far, it's 4 versus 5. Elder is being started by MLXG.
And if Fnatic go for this and lose this fight, that is the game. But are they willing to give it up?
Well, Fnatic are not going to concede for now. They've bullied themselves into a position. Blipper, though, is cut off from the rest of the team. He gets jumped on, forced to use the Unstoppable Onslaught just to escape. That was a retreat call, not something Sion says often. Elder Dragon is fully reset. The minion wave in the top is pushing into Fnatic's base, while Xiaohu's shoving mid.
Yeah, and they have full control of this. Reckless now has his BT. They're looking for a fight here.
They are indeed. The quickness is available to Ming. Look at the voice of light. It's chunking out MLXG. He's going away.
It's all about the dragon.
Picked up by Fnatic. Now the fight needs to happen. Glacial Fisher comes down, and Uzi gets knocked into the air. Fnatic are backing away. Minions are still pushing into their base. That's a root. That's a dead Blippo. He gets turned into zombie Sion mode, and Fnatic are running for their lives. Keep your eyes on Reckless. He's caught. He's silenced. He's feasted, but he's not dead yet. Finally, Xiaohu takes him down. Royal never give up. The quadra kill for Uzi, and Fnatic are dumpstered.
RNG find a phenomenal fight against Fnatic. They have the Nexus in their eyes, and they are looking for the 2-0 over Fnatic.
And Reckless without the QSS there, the flash route from Xiaohu deciding that fight, allowing Let Me to get in on top. Uzi flashing in, and that seals it.
Royal never give up. Bounce back from an early game to take down Fnatic and own the head-to-head 2-0.
And I cannot praise Ming enough for so many fantastic fights. He was able to find so many key targets. He was able to have such a big impact. And RNG, after what was such a huge deficit, to come out and turn it around in such an impressive way. Big win here for RNG.
And really showcasing just how good they are at team fighting. This was extremely impressive. Yes, they have played a lot of 1-3-1 games here, but with such a squishy composition, the margins are so narrow for mistakes, and they played it incredibly well.
If you turned the nameplates off and compared Ming's Rakan against TL versus Ming's Rakan against Fnatic, you might not say it's the same player. 100% kill participation. Throughout the majority of that game, him and Uzi were the very tip of the spear, and they played every team fight flawlessly. That mid-game fight at, 30-odd minutes, it just turned for Fnatic, and they never came back, is it?
I've also got to throw some criticism towards Reckless. This guy played these team fights very poorly. His damage output was not there. He was playing super defensively. I kept my eyes on him throughout that final Drake fight, and his priority was running away rather than helping his team. And that is not the Reckless that we're used to seeing from the regular season.
And I think partially it's due to itemization, right? If you don't buy a QSS or you don't have a Mikhail, someone to keep you safe from a Rise W, you can't really enter the fight until that is on cooldown. And that becomes very difficult to navigate. So when you try to optimize damage with your items, you sacrifice some of your positioning, your ability to play more aggressively.
The itemization discussion is becoming a lot more interesting as we see more games and more days play out. But where this sets us up in the group now is both teams are sitting at 3 wins and 3 losses. And of course, because RNG are 2-0 up over Fnatic, if there are tiebreaker scenarios, they sit above them. So there's no more room for error for these teams. And we start the second half of the group stage. What do you make of RNG bouncing back from their loss, picking up a pretty convincing win now? Their confidence has to be very high.
I mean, for sure, but it does feel like that attacking Xiaohu is one strategy that works in the early game, but if you don't keep the pressure up, RNG will find a way back in, because as long as Uzi and Ming have not fallen behind,
yeah,
they are a duo that always finds ways to get back into the game.
Yeah, well, we'll have to find out. Gentlemen, we'll get more time to talk about that a little later. But for now, I'm going to take a closer look. Let's head to the analysts.
Thank you very much. Quick shot. That one is going to sting for Fnatic fans and EU fans as RNG pull it out in the end. Caps doing everything he can on that Aurelion Sol, his 5th unique champion over 6 games, but ultimately Uzi and RNG, they do secure the victory here in the end.
Yeah, we had this entire segment prepared, praising Caps, talking about how he just wins all these games for Fnatic. We had all the replays lined up, and it died. Again, for the second time.
A very painful death.
I don't think it died because of Caps, though.
Oh, that's a very good point.
I think he's still playing exceptionally, and that segment will get its day in the sunshine because I don't think he's going to slow down. He seems to be playing so well, but it was the rest of the game that kind of fell apart.
And unfortunately for me, like, this sounds so surface level, but anytime I look at Fnatic, they remind me so much of Edward Gaming. Back home, EDG, they have incredibly strong laners, particularly in the AD carry and in the mid lane position, and they have a supportive jungler that just kind of bounces between them. They roll over you in team fights. RNG completely dismantled Edward Gaming. So looking at RNG versus Fnatic, especially if Fnatic were ever going to play a 5v5 run at RNG, I was like, there's no way. It doesn't matter what type of bad day RNG are having. That's a style that they just have so much experience playing, and they would be able to roll over.
The problem is just RNG has been in team fights the last few days, and against other teams than Fnatic, they've lost.
Yep.
Like Team Liquid could beat them, even when we got further into the game earlier today. That was a huge surprise. I've seen this RNG team being dismantled now by some teams. Fnatic was actually doing it, but you are correct. The moment we got into a big team fight.
Right, RNG found themselves in a bit of a hole moving into that mid game, but when it comes to the mid lane team fight, we're going to take a look at that one here because RNG get the turnaround, but Fnatic has an opportunity to make a decision. Deficio, explain it to me.
Well, so if you look at the moment, or this point here in the game, like they're TPing in, they're very split up on Fnatic side, and all of RNG are obviously grouped together, so they're definitely ready to take the fight, and yet Fnatic decide to make the call. We are ahead at the moment. We should go. I think Reckless has just completed his second Zeal item, and Uzi's only on 2 items, so it makes sense that you make the call, but this is here where RNG's very, very strong team fighting kicks in.
I will say, playing a lot of ASO, you want to be next to your AD carry, not opposite him. And that's why Cap's position's on him very early. But in doing so, that's when the Recon engage hits perfect.
3-man knock up there on both Aurelion Sol and Reckless.
Now, here's the thing. Like, this seems very strange, but in the TL versus Fnatic game, the tempo and the advantage in the team fights was put on double. It was the Caitlyn that got super far ahead. And yes, Reckless 100% could have done more in those fights, but he was playing, what, 1, 2, and 3 at that point in the game. He was behind Uzi in terms of itemization, and he didn't turn online, but I just find it different. Like, the responsibility that Caps is the guy that has all of the gold at that point. He's trying to push over the team fights. Aurelion Sol wasn't on the right side of that fight, but it's different. You know, Tristana needs to be the step up there.
I mean, Aurelion Sol did land the stun.
Yep.
You know, like, it looked good. I actually just want to step away from criticizing Fnatic for not executing that fight and just praising RNG. Like, they see the TP as 5, they all disengage instantly, and then the moment they see now the stun has landed from Aurelion Sol, we don't really have to be afraid of anything. Ming flies in, 3-man knock up, and Uzi just sits there, bam, 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 and he pulls the feathers back. They kill the first guy, and they chase it down. Like, that is just world-class team fighting, and you normally don't get to play against teams that can team fight that well if you're Fnatic in the EWOS.
It was the permission they needed to engage. They take the Baron off the back end of that team fight. This puts Fnatic on the back foot. Jat, I know when looking at a champion like Aurelion Sol in particular, being on the back foot is not where you want to be. You wanted to be in the proactive position that you were for the first 25 minutes of the game, and here it just kind of felt like a slow bleed at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, that champion is all about creating numbers advantages on the map, and Caps, I thought, played it perfectly for the first 25 minutes of the game, and then after that, you have to play so far above your opponent, and when you're playing against teams like RNG, that's not possible. If they're team fighting at 95% efficiency, you can't do 120.
So then, Deficio, where does the responsibility lie at this point in the game, now that it's turned in favor of RNG, for Fnatic to come back in it if it's not on the Aurelion Sol?
Well, if you pick Tristana, you accept that your early game is not the strongest, and you have great scaling from your AD carry. If you then go to the late game and the guy in the mid lane has done all the pre-work, you now have gotten your items, well, then we look at the AD carry specifically, and Reckless, he wants to be in this position, he wants to try and be the one who wins you the game, and he got his chance.
So the final fight comes, we're taking a look at the AD carries, in particular that Tristana, Reckless piloting it. Let's take one more look.
And this fight was kind of wonky for me. I like the fact that Fnatic understood that they were kind of hamstrung. They had to go for the Elder Drake because of the mid lane priority. It's a lot of back and forth, and ultimately they just kind of take one step a little bit too far.
And right now, Reckless has gotten 1 hit off. So far, he's kind of been kiting to get close. He's not getting any hits right now. He gets to...
He could actually hit that rise.
He could have, but I think he sees the team back away and he realizes, wait a minute, I'm actually out of position now. So he has to jump away again. He barely got any hits off in this last fight. The team also ended up actually peeling away from him.
And here's what I think happened. You can see he had a hard time getting involved in almost every team fight with Uzi doing double the damage. He had Bloodthirster Essence Reaver as his final items after Double Zeal. That Bloodthirster should have been a Mercurial Scimitar, because I think the reason he wasn't stepping up is because Xiaohu could ruin Prison, and when Xiaohu ruined Prison, that set him up for the Rupture. So he was knocked up, silenced, or rooted for most of that fight. With the Mercurial, that doesn't happen.
And that's why I'm 99% sure he misclicked when he bought 2 BF swords in the late game and stepped out of the base, because one of them went to an Essence Reaver. Makes sense. Where does the other one go? You can only get
at that
it to
point,
PT.
it's Bloodthirster and Bloodthirster only.
And
but
you need Scimitar, so you have a way of avoiding some sort of CC, so you can actually step forward and start hitting more aggressively. In the end, we didn't get the damage we needed from the AD carry. Blame the team, blame the player, and that's why they end up losing.
I do also want to talk about the comp, though, because you are correct, he needs to step forward, but it is so hard to step forward into Messiah, Rise, Cho'Gath. Like, you have to fight that front to back. There's no way you get any sort of backline dive on those champions.
RNG now own the head-to-head against Fnatic with that second victory over them here to kick off the second round robin. After the break, we have an interview with Uzi and a clash between Flash Wolves and Evos. Don't miss it.
Rocket jump comes out from Reckless as MLXG defensively flashes away. Now on the re-engage. That's one back for RNG. Fnatic bit off more than they can chew. He's going to arrive in the fight. Bella comes out from Broxer after the flash. The re-engage. Broxer chomps down mid. Uzi's stunned. He's going to get chunked down as well. Reckless takes him down. Are fading backwards. Damage onto Hillisang roots him down. The Rune Prison into the overload secures the kill. But Caps is forced to run for his life. Bubbo's got no flash available, so he'll get turned into zombie mode. Oh no! Oh no! Caps and Broxer are way out of position. Ming with the quickness. And Fnatic are running for their lives. Keep your eyes on Reckless. He's caught. He's silenced. He's feasted. But he's not dead yet. Finally, Xiaohu takes him down. Royal never give up. Royal never
Predator, proud partner and official monitor provider.